Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Mark from Solo Games, and today we're going to talk about the Lord of the Rings set. So, as of the recording of this video, we are past the pre-release schedule. We are at, I guess, post pre-release, so going towards release, full release. Pretty much anybody who wants to play the set probably has had a chance to play the set, and so I want to kind of give my perspective since I also did play this set this time. So the first thing I want to say is I did go into the set really not knowing anything, and I tried to stay as basically not knowing anything in the set as much as possible, simply because I wanted to see and feel and understand and experience the set from a perspective of just not understanding what the cards are. I know sometimes this feels, sometimes I prefer to do pre-release like this because it kind of makes me kind of just enjoy the cards without kind of coming in with a winning strategy, that kind of stuff. The other part of this too, especially is for this set because it's the Lord of the Rings, I definitely wanted to go see and experience the Lord of the Rings side. I felt like I was reading a lot more of the cards. I was kind of looking at all the images and seeing what the storyline was. In fact, I was drafting so slowly. All the piles were basically piling up next to me because I'm reading flavor text and things. And there's quite a bit of flavor text in this set, so I really appreciate that. So there's quite a bit of stuff that actually Lord of the Rings got right from a lore perspective than other sets, right? But of course, there are a couple of things that were a little bit misses. I've talked about one of them, the ring tempts you mechanic, and I know I've read a lot of the comments in that video, and a lot of people were saying, no, it's they're tempting you. It's not like you're the ring bearer. Well, that's not true because you literally put the ring emblem onto a creature, and that creature becomes legendary. I'm pretty sure that is the ring bearer. So it's kind of like not. How do I put this? It is putting on the ring. It is absolutely the ring bearer. It is absolutely supposed to be draining or something, doing something to that creature or whatever. It's not quite flavorful enough for me, right? But I get it. Being super negative, a lot of players don't want to play it. But I felt like it was kind of weak in the sense that it was it was not strong enough. So a lot of people were kind of just not really using it. As an example, if you compare the ring tempts you mechanic to initiative, I still think the initiative mechanic's much, much stronger. And even the things that, allow you to kind of go into the dungeon, I felt like were more powerful because you can loop it. And there's some cool things you can do by kind of looping the dungeons, etc. than this. And initiative, by the way, also is better because if you have the initiative and you can defend the initiative, then you now can basically accrue each additional benefits without really doing much. Whereas the ring bearer, you have to tempt yourself again, which means every single time you want to tempt yourself, you do have to play a card or do some effect or ability to do that. It's not just a given. You don't just progress through by kind of holding the line. So building a turtling deck doesn't quite work where for ring tempts you. You do actually have to build decks that have cards that will tempt you. Okay, so moving forward to the actual set. Look, the lore is so on spot. I mean, we at our party here, we were talking Lord of the Rings lore for hours. I mean, I felt like during the draft we had so much fun just reading the cards, reading to each other what the cards were doing, and then showing pictures and oh, I want to see what Legolas looks like. I want to see what Gimli's doing in this frame. What are the hobbits doing? What is for example, isolation from Orthanc mean? I mean, the host actually was great because he had Lord of the Rings soundtrack playing in the back. So thank you, Daniel. Really, really cool. So really setting that scene. I mean, whenever for example, we get the Orthanc or Isengard type of music going, or if it's Mordor music, we're this is the Fellowship, this is the Mordor, this is that scene where this happens in the movie. It was just really cool to kind of have that environment and theme while we were doing the draft. The things that I really like about the set is I actually felt let's take the ring tempts you mechanic out. I felt like the set was actually pretty good. It was pretty fun. You could definitely feel it's a little bit more powerful than your standard set because that's supposed to be what it is. This is printed to modern. Now, I would still argue this was originally meant for Eternal formats, as in Commander, and then whatever, Legacy and Vintage type of thing. But, of course, to probably just sell more cards. They did say we're going to print this into modern. Maybe they're trying to shake some things up. I'm not really sure. But I feel like if they were just trying to shake things up, I don't know why they couldn't have printed this into Pioneer or maybe even Standard. Maybe that's too high power level for Standard. I really haven't done the analysis, nor am I really the expert to do that. So I'm not really going to comment on that much. But basically, from my experience, I definitely felt like drafting it was more fun. Now, I would advise if you're doing pre-release and you don't know a lot about the cards, drafting can be pretty rough because again, you're reading the cards, you are making decisions, and you're supposed to be building a higher power level deck, but because you actually end up with less cards than if you play sealed, you're most likely gonna, the difference between the good drafters and the bad ones are gonna be pretty huge. So in essence, whenever you play pre-release, my recommendation, the first set before people know what cards are good or not, play sealed. It's probably a better choice than playing draft. I think that's probably the right choice there. I think in addition to that, basically the way I kind of see this whole set, kind of see everything that's happening in this set is, the cards are good, the cards are fun. The flavor. Let me tell you. So I think this set is fun enough to draft just for the fact that the flavor's on. One great example was this. So I was playing a Sauron deck. I was playing Grixis, and my opponent was playing Grixis as well. So he had a Sauron too. And it was really great because there was a moment when I had 2 life left, right? And then I played my Sauron. And then, of course, and this was a big game changer because by me playing the Sauron, I actually kind of stopped him. As in, like, I basically put the board state into a state where we're at an impasse. In fact, I was probably slowly gaining ground by the fact that I had a Sauron out. I could start doing more things to him, right? Except what was really funny is he had to get around this. So the first thing he did was he tempted something just so that he can make one of his creatures legendary, so that he can sacrifice it to pay the ward cost to go and cast a spell on Sauron. And the spell he cast on Sauron was the Morgul Knife Wound. And I mean, basically when he did it, we were all laughing and we're like, well, so if Sauron got the Morgul Knife Wound, what would that mean, right? And so we had this whole big discussion where we had a lore expert also at our pre-release, somebody who's really interested in the book, really dove into it pretty deeply, and she commented, and it was really funny. She says, well, technically, the Nazguls, right? They're the Witch King of Emar, like technically had spells. He was like a spell like caster before he became corrupted. So technically, by him using the Morgul knife against Sauron, he actually now, this is like a usurping moment. So by casting, so lore perspective, it's fine, and we created this alternate universe where Sauron was actually killed by a Nazgul, and then, or the Witch King, and then the Witch King now is basically Sauron. He's the new Sauron. He rules Mordor, etc. It was just a really fun moment. The other thing that I think I was playing around was I had a file of Galadriel, and I was like, well, it's kind of weird if like Sauron is using the file of Galadriel to do things, right? But also another really like fun moment too in the game. Of course, my opponent played Sting, and he equipped it to his hobbits, this different opponent, and he was fighting against me, who was massing orcs and stuff. It was just really cool, on flavor, on point type of things that we were seeing inside the game. So really, really cool on flavor. I think one of the downsides, right, other than the whole flavor miss and other things like that, is with this set, I think the general consensus in the room is that it's a little bit too expensive. That the cards and for the draft experience, it was a little bit too high for kind of what you got out of the box. And I can understand that. And I felt like maybe this is actually a miss by Wizard. Had they printed this thing, I don't know, maybe a little bit more economic friendlier, they probably would have gotten a lot more players to continue to play the set. And look, I'm saying this super early. The set's not even officially released yet. Who knows? It may do very, very well in long term. But I feel like having that sticker price of almost about 40, 50% more than your standard set can push some other people away, right? In some places where I guess the pre-release kit can even be almost double, right? So it will push some players away that probably would have given this set a try. My recommendation to everyone else who has not tried the set is go try it. Like I said in many, many videos, there's a lot of things I didn't agree with the whole Lord of the Rings set and the One Ring, all that stuff. But I will say the set is good, right? And like, as in, it's flavorful, it's fun. in some moments it almost feels like an unset. A lot of the conversation, those kind of things, because this set is not just Magic. It ties back to something that, again, if you like Lord of the Rings, it ties back to something you love. And I get it. So I understand why there is a draw for Universes Beyond for a lot of people, right? I had the same feeling when I was playing the Warhammer decks. I just feel like the fact that it's a little bit more expensive and they had to do it because of licensing and whatnot, it does make some players basically shy away and not even give it a shot. So my recommendation, go try Lord of the Rings. I think it is really fun. I think you don't have to keep drafting it, right? Because it is pretty expensive, but it is something that I think is at least worth 1 or 2 tries because it is a very cool set. And some of the cards, man, it's so on flavor. I mean, towards the end of the night when we gathered all the cards, we were trying to make that big little battle scene. I think it's 6x3, so 18 cards total battle scene, and we couldn't really do it. And of course, my friend was opening his, his other boxes. We're trying to check the box topper, those kind of things. So, anyways, that's all I'm going to say on the Lord of the Rings thing. Highly recommended. I think it's worth a shot if you've never played it, and it's probably you're not gonna, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed playing it. But again, that sticker shock is a little bit annoying. And I don't like the direction of Magic where we're kind of moving towards this more and more expensive product direction, maybe driving more and more players away. So there's that. Anyways, solo games, Mark, I hope you had a good time. I hope you enjoyed your Lord of the Rings experience. Let me know in the comments what your pre-release or experience was like, and then I'll see you next time. Stay classy.